And why did you decide to involve the military in confirming a municipal chief executive?
First and foremost, it's not correct that the military were present. Yes. So I believe that maybe it's just some rumors somebody told you, but I want to confirm that the military was not there.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, about 22 elected assembly members did not or were not allowed to vote, did not participate in the confirmation process. Can you explain to this committee why 22 of the elected assembly members were prevented from participating in the confirmation of the MCE for Takwa?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to also let you understand that the organization of assembly meetings is not in my domain as the regional minister. The person who chairs and presides over such meetings is not me, and it's not in my domain. It is done by the presiding member of the assembly. I was invited, like any other person, as the government representative to confirm the swearing in of the MCE, that's the municipal chief executive. Myself, I even got there late. When I got there, they were left with about 2 people to vote. The electoral commission declared the person who was the winner, and I only swear him in. Nothing else happened. I was not in charge of that meeting.
Mr. Chairman, as the regional minister, you are responsible to supervise the confirmation of the MCE. Did you have come across, or were you told, that some 22 members of the assembly that did not participate in the voting processes to confirm the MCE for Takwa?
As I told you, when I got there, they were left with 3 people to vote. When I went there, nobody came to complain to me. After they finished, I was there for some time because people were jubilating in front of the cars. Nobody came to inform me something like that had happened. And we realized that the summons to the court on the issue, clearly I'm also not party to that suit. So clearly it shows that I'm not part of anything that had happened on that day, if anything actually happened.
You're saying that whilst you're there, did not come to your attention?
No, please, it didn't come to my attention. Yes, it didn't come to my attention.
Yes. Anybody on my right?
Oh, I'm not.
This time, no, just 3, please. Yes, Honorable Gaga.
Honorable nominee, this is the second time you would serve as minister for the Western region if given the nod. Now, that region is the region where most of our natural resources, including our petroleum resources, are located. But we all know the challenges and this also poses. For instance, if you take the example of the Niger Delta region in our neighboring Nigeria, I mean, the indigenes had to take up arms at some point because they thought that, notwithstanding the fact that the bulk of Nigeria's petroleum resources are located there, they were neglected by the federal government, and so they took up arms. There was some level of insurgency in that part of Nigeria. If you become regional minister, what steps would you take to ensure that such an occurrence, as it happened in Nigeria, does not rear its ugly head in your region?
First and foremost, I believe that ever since oil was discovered about 10 years ago, there have been high expectations. But I believe that community leaders, chiefs, and the rest have been able to educate the community to appreciate that The oil is not for only Western regions, for all of us. Like in the same way gold in Obuasi, Western region, and other places have become for everybody. In the same way we train people, they move from one part of the country to another to serve. It's for all Ghanaians. That education, I believe, have gone down well. However, I do believe that we should use this opportunity to continue to train more of our young men to have the capacity to play a part not only in the oil and gas industry, but in other industries in the country, so that if oil is not there today, they can still continue to live their lives in a more proper way. So I believe that it's continuous engagement that matter, and the ability of government to continue to invest in the region, which the government the years have been able to do so, from President Kufuor to Professor Mills to President John Mahama and Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And I'll give you one typical example. Education. Ever since free SHS was introduced in this country, I believe that Western region is one of the regions that have clearly benefited from it. We've been able to increase school enrollment from 13,201 to over 27,000 in the years that we've implemented free education. So clearly it shows that if we've been able to move the numbers from 13 to 27,000, we have increased the number of people who are benefiting from oil and gas through education. That is good for us to build our capacity to play our part in a lot of areas in the country. Secondly, I still believe that the oil companies should start looking at setting up their headquarters in the Western region, so that more people can have direct engagement with the headquarters and be able to be a part of the value chain, so they can participate more in the oil and gas industry. In doing so, we engage them through education, and we also engage them through the kind of work that they are able to do on the gas fields and other areas of endowment in the region.
Last question. The Western region is home to several mining companies, and I have had occasion in my previous life to travel to places like Takwa, Sefiyo, also to do cases on pro bono basis for poor farmers whose crops like cocoa and other cash tree crops oftentimes would be cut down by the mining companies without the payment of prompt and adequate compensation. I mean, their situation is very bad. I mean, if you're giving the nod again, would you look in the direction of the poor farmers who oftentimes do not have the energy and strength to fight the multinational companies?
Yes, I believe that I'll be able to do that. In fact, the last time I came here, I said one of the pillars on which I'll be running my administration was entrepreneurial governance, in getting on board the private sector, the traditional authorities, the NGOs and others to support the work we do as a regional coordinating council. And when COVID struck, I want to tell you a lot of them came to the aid of the region in providing support to our hospitals, our testing centers and PPEs. I believe that the kind of engagement we've been able to have with them over the years, we should be able to use that to leverage for the right thing to be done to support our farmers. Clearly, we are aware that even the rates that are being paid for foodstuffs, cash crops, and the rest, virtually we are subsidizing a lot of mining operations in Ghana. And I believe that if some of these things start coming up, we'll be able to have the leverage to engage them to do the right thing.
Yes,
thank you, Honorable. Congratulations. You are going to oversee the region again, God willing. We know job creation is one of your passion and something you would want to pursue in the region because of youth unemployment in the region. I know government, MPP, NDC government invested in a lot of projects, and I'm going to run you through so that you can give us an overview of the Jan Duno Port Expansion Project, Takoradi Port, the Ibistek Container Project, the PTC interchange, the Power Grant one, the Takoradi market sector, which you were very instrumental in, the Dabuasi rubber plantation, the sea defense project in Takoradi and Ajwa, are very important projects that if completed will enhance the image of Western region. Can you give us an overview of some of these projects? Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you take the Ibistek project, which is the expansion of the Takoradi port, it is expected that after the first phase, which will give us about 1,400 jobs, the rail operational phase will be giving about 3,000 permanent jobs. Currently, this is the second year. We hope that next year they should be able to finish. COVID had delayed a little bit because the numbers had to be reduced for social distancing. When we talk about the market sector, currently they are recruiting and people have started work, both on the main site itself and then on the relocation site. It's expected to also provide us with about 500 jobs. As we speak, the GMPC operational headquarters is also ongoing. Currently, they've employed about 100 people. They want to do 100 more, and that is expected to be finished next year. We are also expecting the Takoradi Sekendi dual carriage. Contractors have come to site. They are doing the preliminary work. They expect to start work by April. Last year, we had the opportunity of Parliament also approving the loan for the realization work for Aguna Kwanta into Takwa. They have also come around. They are doing a few studies, and we expect them to start work as soon as possible. Also, the PTC job, they come to do all their tests. They've sent the samples outside. I think they are waiting for some results, and then some discussion with the Ghana Air Force because of the alignment of the runabout to the airport runway. When they also come to town, we'll be able to report on that, how far quickly they'll start the rail construction people actually want to say. Irrespective of that, 1D1F is one area that we have targeted to provide a lot of jobs. The Kada ceramic, which we used to be called the Triford, as we speak, is currently undertaking phase 3. That's supposed to provide an additional 1,500 jobs to the current phase 2, which is currently providing 3,000 jobs. And they promised me that if they don't get disturbances with the land, they could expand more to do phase 4, which will start producing some household items to provide us with more jobs. So currently a lot of things are ongoing in the region, and we have the Enable Youth program, where we are having 4 factories being built in 3 districts, and those ones are also going to give us some jobs to be done. But I believe that one area we can use and scale up as quickly as possible is the area of community mining, because one site can take up a minimum of about 2,000 people. We've had opportunities like that in Dompem, in the Wasa East area. Just last week, we had a case that we resolved in the Grail concession. 2 sets of people, almost 6,000. And I believe that if we are able to consistently increase the pace at which we give the approvals for community mining, that would be instant factories on its own that can keep the young ones busy till maybe other real factories are expecting.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and Dina Boy, congratulations. I believe Chairman understands why I call him a junior boy. So, you know my relationship with the region for obvious reasons. You gave me a good wife. The best comes from the West, so don't worry. I will ask you questions on 2 areas. The first one has to do with tourism. The Western region, because of the oil exploitation, has opened up to a lot of foreign interests. A lot of these foreign interests also will want to have leisure. They used to come to Africa for leisure. They wouldn't want to now go to Europe or America on holidays. What are you going to do as a region to improve upon the tourism potentials there in order for these people to keep their money within Ghana so that they can enjoy the... I've seen Blue Moon, I've seen Maha, but that is not enough. And also, secondly, the cost of hospitality in the region is becoming a bit unaffordable. It doesn't promote domestic tourism. So what are you going to do to make sure? You yourself, I know, you yourself, you are into hotel too, and your hotel is very expensive. What are you going to do to make sure the region becomes the destination for any domestic or foreign tourists who want to be in Ghana?
Thank you very much. We've promised ourselves to be the number one tourism destination as a region last year, but because of COVID, we needed to crawl back on some of the activities we're putting in place. The first one, I believe that we need to develop the tourism sites that we have in the region. A lot of them have not seen investment for some time. If you take Ankasa, if you take even Inzulenzu, that is also very popular. If you talk about Ejam Crocodile Pond, these are areas that we have not even invested in them. And I believe that is where we are looking at, to get the private sector to invest in these areas. Not only government, because it takes time for government to take decisions, and then it slows down the process of inviting more people into the region. And therefore, we've been actively pushing to a lot of the hoteliers that they should adapt some of these tourist sites on their own and invest in them and improve them so that people can use them and then they can also stay in their hotels. Secondly, I believe that one area that we've not done well is the promotion of the Western region as a tourism destination. In fact, Western region is one region that can boast of the largest number of even forts and castles in the whole of West Africa. But a lot of people don't know. People think that it's only Cape Coast and Elimina. Recently, last year, I had a tour in Spain, and the Spanish government agreed to create a platform for us to be able to see some investment coming from Spain to do this work. They've been here twice. They've appointed a new director to look at it. They came back to Western region and Ghana to do even the Women's Conference on Tourism, and that was part of their program. Unfortunately, when they went back, COVID hit, and everybody's looking for an opportunity to come back. So I believe that now that we've gotten the vaccine, we should be able to move the agenda forward, especially in innovating our forts and castles in the Western region. Thirdly, one area that is affecting us has to do with roads, and we are trying to take advantage of the Year of Roads Phase 2 to directly fix all the roads that lead to our tourism sites. We've already awarded some part, especially in the Apangwan Enclave. We've gotten GMPC to agree to do the Low Moon road from Axim, and they are getting investors also to look at Ankasa in providing accommodation so that people can have a feel of the place and sometimes even sleep there before they come back. As I speak, Ghana Tourism Board has built their receptive center for Inzulenzu, and very soon they want to invest more money in improving the place so that when people go there, they can come back to make a feel of the area.
The second obvious, we should know, when it comes to football in this country, the Western region arguably has produced some of the best footballers we have, and the best teams. But today, where is second 11 wise? Where is second Azates? Today we are struggling with Midiama and Karela. You understand? But definitely, all because of the situation of our secondary Jadu Park, which produced all these wonderful players, including even the legendary goalkeeper Robert Mensah. What are we going to do to help improve? Because some of the problems secondary Azakers, living wise have faced is because of liquidity. The people to be able to hold them and sustain the club. What support do you think the Regional Coordinating Council can mobilize from all these industries, mining companies and oil companies around there, to help these clubs stay on their feet and be able to offer opportunity for the huge sports potentials we have in the region?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I do believe that football these days has become business. So the first thing is that we need managers that are prepared to run them sustainably. Secondly, it is good to look for sponsorship from the companies, which they've been doing and helping. But free things are not sustainable in the long run, or sometimes cannot be reliable, especially when it comes to these corporate organizations. So what I've been advocating for is either a seed fund or an investment in these football clubs that charges the managers to be responsible and to also to be profitable. If you're able to do that, these clubs can sustain for some time, and I believe that we can use the opportunity to recruit more talent into the pool. However, recently I've gotten a company that is currently investing in Azakis, and they have a program called social entrepreneurship to get footballers also doing some side gig and then supporting their families and communities. We've given them the recommendation letter, and they plan to extend it beyond Azakis to get more teams in the Western region on board the project. So we made contact with Simon, the regional RFA chairman, and he's working with them to get the program rolled out so that football in Western region becomes sustainable in the long run. Recently, this Christmas, there was a small football match in New Takrady, and you know Asifwa is a big talent that came from New Takrady. He was there to play with his old boys, and it was fun. When it comes to Jendu, recently it was very deplorable, so the sports manager made a request, and the assembly provided some money, and then the 3 MPs in the metropolis also provided the rest, and they've started with the renovation. So we hope that it will be completed very soon for the football players to use.
And the last one, entertainment. You know, today when it comes to the music industry, almost 70% of all these current contemporary musicians are from the Western region. And of course, my best one, Kofi Kinata. You understand? There is no any sort of, let me say, avenue, place, center for these talents to perform, to entertain, and to make people in the region good. What I know is that every year Kofi Kinata does a program at the Jubilee Park too. But then, what plans do you have as a regional coordinator to have? In the olden times, when we have the Jeduambles and Sikima and the rest of them, it's because we have these centers, cinema places and the rest, all gone. Are you thinking about exploiting the Minister of Tourism's idea of having theaters and performing arts places within the region? Or you could get any of these oil companies to sponsor an indoor facility that will help these artists and performers to come out there, the concert people, to show their talent and get people together.
Yes, it's very correct. I believe that in the olden days we used to have the Princess Cinemas, we used to have the Ampezos, we had the Above View, and then Zenith. These were areas, and even at Himfe Hotel, these were areas that people were performing. The regional cultural center is still there, uncompleted, and I know that it's a priority of the Ministry of Tourism to get that one immediately completed for such events. Apart from that, there's a possibility of also exploring the building up of such facilities in other areas, like say Iziama, Takwa, Asenkregwa, and Nikopon. And we are going to explore that opportunity and see how it can be done.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Honorable Nominee. I have a question on local content participation in the upstream petroleum sector, which seems to be very slow in growing. We have very few local businesses and even few indigenous people in that sector. Would you have a plan on how to improve local ownership and local professionals in the sector to benefit the region and the country at large? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam, you know that I've been one of the key advocates for local content. And I believe that in those days that Honorable Kofi Pua was the Minister for Petroleum, we have supported him a lot in the local content area because we believe that it makes business sense for even companies to engage local content. More so for us in the Western region, we are even looking at local. Unfortunately, like you are aware, while somebody is in, say, UK or London borrowing at 1%, Ghanaian companies will be borrowing around 25%. So I believe that it is time that the local content fund is activated in support of local businesses, Ghanaian local businesses, so they can also compete and win awards in the oil and gas chain. But I believe that if the local content committee actually works harder, more Ghanaians will be able to participate. One of my major challenges is that when it comes to the oil and gas business, it seems that everything seems to be in Accra. And I believe that is one area we have to relook. With the exception of ECA, that promised that they will be locating the ECA Ghana Industrial Corporation headquarters in the Western region. The rest are all located in Accra, and I believe that continues to be a challenge. And I believe that if we want local to happen, or local Ghanaian content to happen, the more you leave it in Accra, it becomes difficult for local people, especially from the Western region, to participate in the program. Irrespective of that, there have been a lot of training programs that had gone on in the Western region earlier, and I believe that people still have the capacity to participate. But it will take the local content committee of the Petroleum Commission to ensure that Ghanaians get to participate in this endeavor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Congratulations for your nomination. Are you familiar with your statutory responsibilities under the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act of 2016? What are those, and to what extent have you, as regional minister, lived up to those responsibilities?
Please, the question again.
So are you familiar with your responsibilities, your statutory responsibilities as the head of the Regional Coordinating Council under the Land Use and Spatial Planning Act of 2016, an act passed by this Parliament? Are you familiar with your statutory responsibilities under it? And if you are, if you are not, I can mention them to you. And if you have lived up to those responsibilities.
One of the responsibility is setting up the Regional Special Committee headed by the officer in charge of LUFSA, and then bringing on board the private sector, bringing on board some chiefs, and then the regional officers like the Lands Commission, the Survey Department, and the rest, to look at spatial planning for the districts in the region. Yes, and we have inaugurated our committee, and they've been working.
So have you developed your regional spatial development framework?
Yes, in 2012, it was developed, and that's what we've been working with currently.
And how has that helped to improve planning and development within?
Recently, they have even scheduled a meeting to train all the officers in the district, and I've even also recommended to them that it is not enough to only train public officers. They should add our assemblymen, because they are in the district, they stay with the knowledge in the communities, and our chiefs, who are actually permanent institutions, so that when it comes to development and people also guarding all the plans that we've done, we need people with the memory to continue to support communities to do what is right. Because what we've realized is that when you train only public officers in the planning officers in the district. When they leave with their knowledge. And the rare communities that we need to help them develop and keep those commitments to the plans that we've had becomes a problem. For instance, if you have an assemblyman who doesn't understand how to keep the built environment well, or the spatial plan that has been done, when somebody puts a kiosk in a public open space, you think it's normal and he's trying to help somebody. But if he's knowledgeable and he understands the issue, you actually convince the person not to do what is not right, so that it keeps the plan tidy all the time, and then we don't get the places underdeveloped or become slums in the long term.
As somebody who has been a regional minister for a while, did you see any conflicts? Did you see any complementarity in terms of the work of regional coordinating councils and regional ministers and the development authorities, the zonal development authorities, i.e. coastal zone, middle belt zone, northern zone, all those development authorities that were established? Did you notice friction? Did you see a diversion of resources and capacity to these development authorities as against coordinating councils? Did you in any way think that this disabled or weakened regional coordinating councils?
Oh, not at all. I think that the regional development authorities actually accept the leadership of the regional coordinating council, and they see their work as a complement. I see that the regional development authorities actually see the regional coordinating councils as leadership in whatever they are doing, and therefore all the work they've been doing, they've been complementing the work that the regional coordinating councils have done. I've not seen them fight us or we fighting them. In fact, they actually appreciate that the regional administrations are the leaders in the region, and they work with us to look at our priorities and see what we need to do. In fact, they even go further down all the way into the districts and then the sub-metros to even try to build up their position on issues from the ground up, and we appreciate that a lot.
Thank you very much.
What are they doing that the regional coordinating council could not have done?
Honorable, please, you've exhausted your turn. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable Kogi, congratulations. For me, one of the key indicators of the effect of Galamsey in the western region is each time that I'm going to Takrady, I look down and I see the River Pra. The color of the water gives me an indication that really this is a very serious effect of Galamsey. Now lately, when I take a look at the same water, I see some small difference. Now, would you say that that is a very good indication that the water bodies are regaining their purity as far as the fight against illegal mining is concerned? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
That is correct, and that's also a very good observation. In fact, just last 3 days, I was also in Elibo, and if you see the Ankoba River, you can see that you can see some freshness in the Ankoba River. The mudiness has virtually gone away, and I believe that is part of the good results we are getting from the fight against Galamsey, and then the institution of more community mining, which is giving some space for people who would have rather been the Galamsey area to find space to find some work to do in the community mining site. So the observation is very correct, and it's a true reflection of the work that the Galamstop has been able to get us.
All right, leadership.
Thank you, Chairman, and congratulations.
I think Eric wants to.
Eric. Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Please, Chairman. The Chairman, my first question has to do with Bonsa Ties Company. Bonsa Ties. Bonsa Ties Company was established by Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah somewhere in 1963 to manufacture automobile tires. But at that time, the company had the capacity to produce 1,230 ties and 960 inner tubes a day. As we speak, Ghana exports rubber in the raw state. What can you do to rope bonsa ties into the 1D1F project, just to bring it back, so that we can manufacture ties here to reduce the huge import bill on the importation of ties in Ghana?
Thank you very much. As we speak currently, at the Regional Coordinating Council, we've established what we call the Investment Center that actually try to crystallize investment activities in the Western region. And we've taken on board all those projects that we believe that one, Accra should hear about them to quicken their pace of reinvestment, or some kind of divestiture that invest in those projects and make them viable again. As we speak, if we take a company like Aboso Glass Factory, we supported Georg to take over the project, and they are currently rehabilitating it to start producing bottles. And we are looking around to get an investor to also look at the Bonsa tie factory. As we speak, you know that Grail is also, government recently just invested in Grail for the production of rubber. We've had other rubber companies that has also come up, and we'll be having discussions with them to see the possibility of having that horizontal integration into these projects and see what can happen. In fact, I worked in the tire industry, and even in the 90s, we're still buying rubber from Bonsa. Unfortunately, the rehabilitation along the line, I believe government could not pay its counterpart funding, and that resulted in the halting of operations of Bonsa. But I believe that it's a good investment we can still have a look at and get other people on board to invest in it, so it will be considered.
You just responded to a question on illegal mining. I know illegal mining has destroyed lands, degraded lands in the Western region. How do you propose to reclaim the lands?
First and foremost, I believe that degraded lands, for me, would have to be repaired by those who are into the business of degrading it. I believe that in as much as we see people illegally mining, it is appropriate that when we seize even equipment from them, we use the same equipment to reclaim those lands. That should be the first step. Secondly, I also do believe that, like Minister said, the Minister designate for lands said, we need to have some reforms at the Minerals Commission. We are not saying they are not doing well, but at least have some reform to decentralize, proper decentralization. I believe at the minimum at the district level, so that approval for mining licenses should happen at that level, and then maybe Accra only do the paperwork. In such a way, in so doing, we are sure that the district assemblies will take responsibility for clean up the mess any miner that's in the region, in the area, and then also make sure that people don't go about just doing anything that they like. And then the solution can be found at the lower level instead of allowing it to appear at the top.
What is the impact of crime associated with illegal mining on the budget of the Regional Coordinating Council?
It's quite huge. Especially when you move the soldiers around. One, the districts suffer a lot because they have to keep fueling them and giving them accommodation in their action. And most of the time when they don't have the money, they come back to the region to support them. But I believe that if we are able to decentralize properly to the district and put in place the right revenue structures for those who be engaging in mining at that level, we are sure we should be able to tally that up.
Okay. Where were you?
I closed.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Nominee, I have one question.
No, we are done.
Mr. Chair, did you give me the chance? All right. Honorable nominee, in November 2019, about 100 houses in Western Region were submerged in flood after the Ankoba River overran its banks. Also in May 2020, part of Nkrofo in the Lembele district of the Western Region was submerged in water following downpour, which lasted for an hour. What measures have you put in place, or would you put in place to deal with the situation?
Please, can I hear the last part of your
measures to deal with the perennial flooding?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Flooding has not only occurred in these two places. Even yesterday in Takrady we had difficulties. I believe that the first one is our ability to continue to open the waterways and channels in the region. We should also appreciate that climate change is an issue right now, and we all need to invest in reclaiming our future by planting more trees. And then lastly, I believe that we need to put in place infrastructure. A lot of our storm drains and waterways needs to be lined up with proper concrete so that they can hold the water and then make sure they can move into the sea or wherever rivers they have to move into it. I know a lot of my district chief executives have been engaging in opening up the waterways with a lot of excavators, especially in the Asenkrigwa area, the Nkrofo area, and then even at Manso Amenfi. With Manso Amenfi, we needed to do a new bridge, which was completed just last December. And I believe that now that the rains are setting in, we'll see the real impact these investments would have made. But like I said, we need to look at climate change as a major issue that needs to be looked at, and then we have to invest in the future.
And then secondly, which is the last question, during the 2017 vetting, you made some promises to this committee. I just want to have your take on the promises. And I'm reading from the Hansard of 26 March 2019. It says, with Chairman, your permission, and I read, it says that the nominee told the committee that he had accepted a proposal to construct a cocoa processing factory in the Western Region under the One District, One Factory initiative. He indicated that he was part of the team that secured land for Cocoa Board for the construction of a modern warehouse in the region. On that backdrop, he promised to rigorously pursue the establishment of a cocoa factory in the region. What is the status of that cocoa factory?
I think that didn't mention constructing a cocoa factory, because one of the major issues at that time had to do with the revamping of WAMCO, which we've been able to do and is now on stream. In fact, last year they made a profit of $2 million, and then even in COVID they were able to sell more than $6 million worth of cocoa products to Europe. So WAMCO currently, as I speak, is up and running.
But the Hansard indicated that you said you were going to ensure the cocoa processing factory. That's all you said, that cocoa processing factory.
Please, I never made a promise.
Very well.
Okay. Yes, there was
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Honorable nominee, just two quick questions. Ghana witnessed the Hope City project. That was private sector driven. It was to cost $10 billion. It fell through. Hasn't happened since. One of perhaps white elephant projects in Africa. I've seen a drive for a petroleum hub in the Western Region. That is also private-led driven and estimated at $50 billion. Tell us about this project and how far it has come.
Basically, this project is a downstream project that is expected to generate about 780,000 jobs with huge investment of about 50 billion. As we speak, we are working with the Land Use and Spatial Planning Authority on the land part of the work, and we are waiting for the right-of-way documents to be coming up to my level for the necessary inspection and then signage, and it was sent to Accra. I'm aware that the act supporting this project has been passed in Parliament, and therefore I believe that now that there's a framework within which investors can work, people will be more confident to invest in the project. It's a project that we in the Western region are expecting it to happen, and I know that there are a lot of anchor tenants that are looking up to do some investments. I know the Moroccans partner with government to do the fertilizer plant in that enclave, and I'm also aware that some Chinese have also expressed interest to invest in the oil refineries in that space. So that is the status as at now.
$50 billion, our economy, $50 billion project.
You know, just last week, I was just saying something to myself that in the 1960s, when Takrady saw high-rise buildings, we have Iskafa Mantem number 1, Iskafa Mantem number 2, Iskafa Mantem number 3. What it means is that the rich men didn't come early. That was even in the 60s. At that time, Dubai was still a desert. It has not been built. So I believe that if we take a decision that we want to do something big and great, we should be able to do it.
I wish you well. But there is a group known as GALOC, Governance Association of Local Governments. I'm sure you've heard about them. They have been on your heels for some time now in relation to the role you played in the election of the MCE for Takwan Sweng. They claim, for example, that you use the police to physically prevent about 22 members of the assembly from
that question has been asked already, but I want to assure you, I never used any police to prevent anybody. Neither did I order anybody to prevent anybody. And then, two, when the case ended up in court, I'm not even a party to the case because you know that I'm not involved. I mean, I believe that those people actually doing the press conferences maybe had been either been lied to or they are not checking their own facts properly. They are just, and I believe that, Mr. Chairman, if I get the opportunity, I want to request that you direct them to stop what they are doing because it's not proper, because I'm not involved in anything.
You mean those who are using the press conferences? Hey, I didn't know that my power can get there. Very well. My ranking member.
Chairman, let me thank you and also congratulate the minister nominee and chairman, just for him to appreciate there is wide community demand for good roads in the Western region. You remain a major feed for the country in terms of its mineral resources, now with oil and gas discovered. But your roads are generally more travel, and you have a number of delayed and abandoned projects, particularly roads and GET fund. If you do get back and get confirmed as minister, what will you do to improve the situation of the roads and to ensure that those abandoned projects in accordance with Article 35(7) are pursued and completed? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I'm happy that you have also recognized this difficulty, but as at December 2020, government has been able to award 80 different roads, totaling about 1,350 kilometers of roads in the Western region. And we are looking up to contractors to actually get to speed with getting these roads completed. When it comes to get funds, some of the delayed projects, as I became regional minister, were terminated and were re-awarded. So we are hoping that we can do more of such to bring new contractors with new cash to come and finish some of these projects for us.
There are a number of, call it NDC government awarded projects that have been totally abandoned or in a situation of neglect. What will you do about those projects? Thank you.
Please, they were all included. In fact, the first batch of abandoned projects that we were able to reach out to the contractors, we reviewed the projects and their contracts were upgraded for them to continue working. We've seen a lot of the projects actually being completed. If you take a place like Bompe Secondary School, they were all NDC projects. Now they've been able to roof them. Some of them, like the St. Mary's and the rest, the contractors go back to site and they've been able to do some substantial work on those projects for the projects to be used for SHS.
Chairman, the Honorable Eric Opoku referred him to Bonsu Tai. There is also other collapsed state-owned companies such as Abosu Glass Factory, Esiama Oil Palm Mills, WVLC, and Western Customs. Many opportunities in the area. Is for you to give advice to government. If it has no interest, it can divest its interest to private sector to participate in getting these initiatives re-established to provide job opportunities. Can we have your assurance?
Yes, we have the assurance of the minister to get government up to speed on these issues, to support them to be resuscitated.
There was some grant of 5 million by international key players in the gold industry, you are aware of it, to deal with matters of polluted water bodies and to provide potable water in mining communities. How has the money been utilized?
This is some funds that has been promised the region as grant for investment from the UN environment. Actually, what happened was that they came for the Ghana Gold Expo, and then at the end of the program, they promised to invest that kind of money in small water systems in community mining areas in the Western region. So we've gotten the first concept note to UMAT to have a look at it, because they have the labs to test the water that might be coming up in those areas.
So, Chairman, there was some initiative launched in Bodie to substitute for the Galamsey menace and to develop local interest and capacity in mining to create employment for the youth. What's the status of the initiative? Thank you, Chair.
That was the launch of the community mining in Western region, and as we speak, miners are still there. It's rock mining, and it's able to accommodate more young people to practice their trade. It's still there as a community mining site. And
are you following through, and will you follow through the court trial to ensure justice for the kidnapped 4 girls?
Yes, please. I think the date for verdict is supposed to come on the 5th of March. So we are off. Justice
delayed is justice denied. Are you following it vigorously to ensure that justice is?
Yes, we are following it, and it will be done on the 5th.
You have an explanation for the unexplained killings in some parts of the region?
Please, which of them?
Unexplained killings.
So far, the one that happened to my treasurer and the security guard of my mother-in-law, the police is still working on them. They've not come to a conclusion.
Beyond the creation of the Western North region, what has been the other significant political developments in the region?
That is the elections of 2020.
Chairman, chieftaincy and land disputes, how do you intend to handle them? There are a number of it, particularly in Wasa, Fiase, Dompim, Window, Apromedu, Shama, Fijai, and in Upper Diskof. What do you intend to do about those chieftaincy issues?
Basically, we've had a lot of chieftaincy disputes in the Western region, about 65 of them. We are actually leading on the advice and support of the Regional House of Chiefs to expedite action on a lot of these chieftaincy disputes. And I believe that as I do my interview, you'll hear and then help us expedite a lot of the program. Initially, they didn't have a lawyer, so I think it delayed a lot of the work they needed to do in the House. But now that they have a lawyer, I strongly believe that very soon they should be able to tidy up a lot of the...
Chairman, the nominee was Deputy Minister for Aviation. Can he just share with us, in terms of weather, is it the case, what I'm hearing, that we have problems assessing weather as a country, and we are dependent on some provision from international sources, whether it's Tamale Airport or it's Kumasi Airport? And you want to explain the slow pace of work at the Tamale Airport, since you had some knowledge about it. Thank you, Chair.
I think that when it comes to weather, the relationship between the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the Meteorological had been solved long ago, so they are able to provide them with information. Along the line, when the conflict started between the two of them, that is when the Civil Aviation were getting some backup data from international sources to support their work. But ever since I left, these issues haven't come up yet.
But you know, the Twin City had a pride of place in Ghana those days, and now with remarkable resources, my recommendation is that the National Labour Commission, you must facilitate the establishing an office in your region because of the increased number of employment in that area, and because it's related to oil and gas, there's a lot of conflict about safety and other hazards related to jobs, and many people lose their jobs. Chairman, I think I'm done. I thank you for the opportunity.
Well, I have no question for you. We thank you for attending upon the House to answer questions.
Thank you very much.
You will hear from us, but for now you're discharged. Thank you very much.